Now, I don't know how many people. You know what? Let me rephrase. I really don't care how many people. I don't know how many black men have actually went to Black Lives Matter and actually read up about what it is that they're after, what it is that they support, who they're fighting for. Because, you would think Black Lives Matter, not to say some women haven't been unjustifiably shot by the police or brutalized, but we all know in the community of African Americans, well, let me rephrase, so called African Americans and so called blacks, we all know who the main target is and who they're fearful of. And let's be honest, it's not a woman. It is not a homosexual. It is not a transgender. It is not a disabled. Okay? It, it is not undocumented folks. It is not folks with records. It is black men, black boys. It is the black male superiority that they are afraid of and that they're scared that will come to power, that their true king inside will actually show, will actually come to fruition, and then they would proceed to overthrow this society and bring it upon the actual rulership of black, so called black. And that is why they hate the black man so much. They know where we came from and they know where they came from. They came from under the boot heel of slavery when we were in power. And when we were in power, we enslaved them, and they remember that in their hearts because that is why they treat us so harshly. Okay? And I'm not talking about the Egyptians and none of that. I'm talking about rulership that extended out of Africa. I'm talking about in Europe, I'm talking about even the blacks, the so called blacks native to America, North America, and South America. Um, the native blacks in Germany and Europe. I'm speaking of those blacks. I'm not in the same circle of most people who only speaks of Egypt. If you do your history, you will see blacks have rulership over the entire, almost the entirety of the world. We've had a form of rulership in just about everywhere. Okay, and knowing that ancestrally, the white man, which is why when they went to Egypt and they saw the kings, the pharaohs, the faces of so-called black men, they were upset and they destroyed so many statues, so many sculptures, so many artifacts. Well, they stole the artifacts and the stuff worth a lot of money that they could pick up and take, but the stuff they couldn't, they destroyed. A lot of that stuff is in the archives, but that's a different story for another day. But anyway, with Black Lives Matters, if you go up on the website, black man, not black woman, but black man, okay, and if you read about who they are fighting for, you are not it. In fact, even though I am not speaking to the black woman, the so called black woman, I am even telling her that she is not even whom they fight for in the sense of priority. And you can say, oh, people make lists as, just as a generalization, but we all know words mean power. Words have a lot of force in them, okay? And the way that you word something kind of, in my opinion, puts forth whom is important and who is not. Okay, so reading the Black Lives Matter, going to the website and clicking on the About, I read who they are really fighting for. And it goes on to say, we affirm the lives of black, queer, and trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented folks, folks with records, women, and all black lives along the gender spectrum. Our network centers those who have been marginalized within black liberation movements. What like I mean, so basically if you read that, what does that say to you? Does that sound like they're worried about a black young man getting killed or a black young male getting oppressed? Do you think that they care about the so-called black man at all? They put the woman at the very bottom. The woman existed, the man existed before a queer, before a trans person. Well, I mean, and no offense, but who cares of a disabled folk, undocumented folk, folk with records? That is stupid when that is just like issues that you have personally. That is stupid. The truth is, a black queer, and no offense, most of the time is because they have a mental issue, especially transgender. Transgender are wanting to be a sex that they obviously are not. And most of those people, if you look at the suicide rate, it is high, which is why, because they are unstable mentally. Okay? And that is why they end up usually committing suicide in higher rates. Okay? You're concerned about the black queer. So that's men and women who are gay, but obviously they're just concerned about the homosexuality. Then you have the trans, and then they're concerned about people who have gender identity issues. The disabled, undocumented, and people with records are just stupid. That makes no sense. But they're saying they're marginalized within black liberation movements. So, I guess you're saying, oh, when black people come together to liberate their people in an entirety. They're not mentioning gays, trans, and the disabled, undocumented, and folks with records, or the women. What? Like, let's be real. Those people you're talking about are the same dumbass people on the same coin as you. It's just a different side. Y'all two are the same coin. It's just that y'all don't agree to how to get to where you want to go. And what I mean by that, both of y'all are ignorant. Okay? Both of y'all are fighting for a cause pretty much to be equal to a man. But you want to be equal to a white man. Not even the white woman, but a white man. Not even a white gay, but a white single Caucasian heterosexual male. Because you best believe in the white Caucasian, the so-called white Caucasian community, that they don't, try to build up queers and trans folks. Why? Because that in a culture, that's not what you want. You don't want someone that is homosexual in your community, or at least leading your community, because that is the role of a man. Going back to the biblical of it all, a man is supposed to be the head of a household, and a man is supposed to provide for his family. He is supposed to take care of his wife, as she is to provide structure in the home for the child and for when the man arrives home. She's supposed to take care of home and nurture the children. Okay? None of this is about a queer, a homosexual woman, or a homosexual man, or a transgender person. Two people with heavily mental issues and identity crisis. No offense, but it's the truth. Okay? No one wants to talk about it, but it is a truth. Okay? So, and you can look up research about this, and and it tells you that I'm not gonna say it's a choice per se, because it's a mental issue in a way that you can't really counteract that without some form of therapy, not medication, but therapy. Okay? Now, just going off of what the Black Lives Matter movement is supposed to be about, I can't I myself can't really support that kind of movement as a black man because it's not for me. As a so-called black man, it is not for me. As a so-called black woman, it really is not even about you because you were the last person that they chose, and then they want to generalize it as the all black lives along the gender spectrum. There is only two gender spectrums, male and female. If you choose, if you're in your mind, you think that you are something else, you are mistaken. I am sorry, but you are mistaken, and you should seek mental help and to get the ability to understand what you are, whom you are. Okay, that is what you should be seeking in your life, and not trying to be equal to a man and not trying to be equal to a woman. If you're a man, you're a man. That's it. If you're a woman, you're a woman. Now, if you want to be gay or whatnot, that's on you. But you still need to seek mental help and to make sure that you are mentally structured and able to have a life that's fruitful and actually helping you along in living life. Because for most of the time, these people are just sad and miserable. Okay, and the reason they are is because as a person in their soul and their spirit, they're broken, and they don't know how to find themselves. Okay, and that is usually what's going on in these situations. They can't find themselves, so they're seeking sexual gratification from the same sex in the sense that they don't feel feminine because of one thing or manly because of one thing, so they want sex from the other gender. Now, that's alleged, but that's my theory in some way. Now, I know a lot of it is chemical imbalance, so yes, this is true, but that can also be fixed by uh, dieting, in my opinion, because usually food has everything we need to counteract whatever we're going through. Now, of course, people are going to say medicine, medication, like antidepressants, anxiety medications and whatnot, but God put all this food on the earth, all these herbs, all these vegetables, all this fruit for a reason. It is to help us along, to help whatever ailments we are facing. And at least if you read the Bible, that's in Genesis. If you actually read the Bible and not just have someone speak it to you. But yeah, man, this is just for my brothers, the actual black men of the community who see that we are alienated, even in our own community. And Black Lives Matter is not for you, so-called black man. It is not. So do not support a movement that isn't even for you. Okay? Because what you're doing, you're saying, hey, I want these gays to be ahead of me. I want these trans to be ahead of me. I even want the woman to be ahead of me. The woman is a helpmeet. She is supposed to be alongside of you. She is a complement, and you are a complement to her. But these people want to be above you, not equal to, but above you. Okay? And I'm talking to you, so-called black man. And why am I saying so-called black man? Because black is not a culture. Okay? Black isn't a race. Okay? And calling yourself African American really is a contradiction because black people that are here in America, a lot are native, a lot came from Europe, okay? And a few, yes, did get caught in Africa and brought over here. But we are not the same culturally. Okay, black man? The same way how we are not the same culturally to an African in Africa. Okay? We are not the same culturally. Our skin tones are not the same. The same way how you will see a Chinese man, a Vietnamese man, um, a Korean, they are not the same. Do you understand? Culturally, they are not the same. No matter what their skin tone is, they are not the same. Black man, do you hear me? Okay. All right. Now, I just want you all to really understand what this movement is about as a black man and understand it is not for you. Okay? And I'm speaking to the actual men of knowledge and intellect. I am not speaking to these emotional men who are run by women, who praise the woman to be a god, and who can't stand up for themselves and allow women to walk all over them. I'm speaking to actual men who have structure, who actually love themselves, who actually see themselves as a commodity and not just dick to be thrown around and given to every woman that they meet. All right? So if you're a simp, this isn't for you in the sense that I know you're emotional and you can't handle the truth. Okay? But as a black man, you should hear what I'm saying. As a so called black man, you should hear what I'm saying and understand that it is the truth because I can guarantee you a lot of you feel in your soul that this is true. Okay? Go read the About section on the Black Lives Matter website, black man, so called black man, and you will see that they are not for you. Okay? All right. Have a good day.